Jason Aldean, Full Throttle Tour 2025, powered by Patriot Mobile. When lights come on. Friday, September 19th, Wells Fargo Arena. With Nate Smith. You set my world on fire. And Ray Lynn. Jason Aldean. On sale now at iowaeventcenter.com. Jason Aldean Live. Murph and Andy, proudly presented by Ramsey Subaru and BMW of Des Moines. Live and on demand across Iowa everywhere. From the Channel Seed Studios. This is Murph and Andy. Murph and Andy. Connected by Cellular Advantage.
And we welcome you to Murph and Andy live here on Iowa Everywhere alongside Andy Fales. I'm Keith Murphy. Aiden is in for the vacationing Andrew Downs today. And Andy, what a change we have here as we reach hump day in this very busy, high-interest sports week. But we're doing okay, relatively speaking, here in the metro. It feels like 20 degrees, and there are high winds out there. You have to be careful. But northwest of us, they're dealing with an actual blizzard today.
Yeah. This is one of those changes in the weather that probably is being celebrated by everybody who decided to travel out of town for spring break and buy expensive vacations to Mexico and Florida and whatnot. Because it started out, the week was probably just as nice here as it was in the vacation spots, but not anymore. Yeah, it's cold. I showed my daughter the temperature, 38 degrees, and she still took the dog for a walk wearing shorts.
Yep,
I said,
and
okay.
It feels like 20.
Right, if you're out in the wind somewhere. It's even colder. So she is still walking as far as I can see, but reasoning with a teenager is a fool's errand, as we all know.
Yep, you have, 5 years left of that. Everything changes at age
with her.
20.
Yeah, and then I got another one. Yeah.
And then you got the boy, and good luck with that. Guest House Tavern and Oyster in West Des Moines sets the table for today's sports and more. Coming up here today, we have Hoosier DeVries, we have a Hawkeye reset, and fishing films with Mr. Movie in honor of our good friend Bryce Miller. We have all that coming up from Guest House Tavern, Northwoods-inspired Midwestern hospitality. Right now, it's high or low since the last show.
Presented by Wealth Charter Retirement Planning and Tax.
Them at wealthcharterretirement.com. They can help you in so many different ways up there. We strongly recommend them. I'll go high here. It is, despite what the weather looks like, it is the last day of winter. And we know that here in Iowa, the calendar at this time of the year really doesn't count. But it still helps me psychologically. Just knowing that we technically are out of winter. I mean, until we get past the Drake relays, we aren't out of winter
Right.
in central Iowa. But doesn't it help you a little bit psychologically just to hit that milestone, Murph?
It does. I can't really explain that, but yes, it feels like we're on the move. The NCAA tournament always feels like the beginning of spring to me, and it's kind of become that more than opening day, which has been complicated in Major League Baseball here. The Cubs are already 0-2 on the season, which, Andy, I'm sure you love that. Dodgers have won the first two games in the Tokyo Dome, 0-2.
Yeah, right. I mean, baseball opening and the calendar and the jump ahead to daylight saving time. I mean, those little things, they help, right? I mean, the days getting longer, those things all help. I mean, anything to get us out of the previous 2.5 months, that funk that you just can't avoid. Any step out of that is a big one at this time of the year.
I'm going high, too. I was on my way to work at WHO 13 yesterday, and I pulled up to the stoplight. Andy, I looked over to my left, and I couldn't believe it. Griff. Griff in the actual car next to me.
Is that the Griff car?
That's the Griff car. That's the Griff mobile. And I looked over, and I guess this is the way some people would feel, like some young kids would feel if they pulled up next to Caitlin Clark or Patrick Mahomes or something. I just looked over, and there was Griff, and I was pounding on the glass and waving, and Griff was asleep. So, but it was very exciting, and that was my high. All right.
You saw him in the car. Is he wearing like a seatbelt?
Oh yeah, he's in good shape back there. They take really good care of Griff.
I know. I was just wondering if he was riding in an actual seat or if he's in a kennel in the back. Which was
still not allowed to go to Wichita, even though the people train don't run out of Wichita, unless you're a cattle or a hog.
Hog or a cattle.
Hog or a cattle, but not a bulldog. So still not allowed to go. Interact with others on YouTube. Comments. You can comment on YouTube as, let's see who's on there now. All Gas, No Breakfast. Love that name. Mitch is there. Nomad is there. You can interact with others there. You can email us, Murph_Andy at iowaeverywhere.com. Although AD is skiing, is anybody checking this email inbox? How much time did you spend in the email inbox today, Andy?
I don't even know how to get into it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
On X.
I have 10 other ways to reach me other than our email inbox. I don't even know why we have one.
Murph_Andy. Among other things, it's where we get the Grimaldi's fan photos and we run contests. We can just funnel it straight into there. This is all powered by the Cellular Advantage, now with 35 regional locations. Proud partner with U.S. Cellular since 1993. With the help of Aiden, let's get the buzz.
The Buzz. Brought to you by Logier Heating and Cooling.
All right, Logier Heating and Cooling, proudly serving the Des Moines metro community more than 115 years.
They know it's not out of winter yet. They're still working on.
They're probably getting some callbacks today after that false
I thought
spring.
we were out of the woods. Maybe not. Come on by.
Darian DeVries won't be the next Iowa coach. Everyone knows this by now. We even had instant Iowa reaction, and boy, did this happen fast. It went from speculation to rumor to Indiana confirming, all in the same day. And then Darian DeVries had a statement out by, 6 or 7 p.m. about being Indiana's coach. So, Andy, a lot of questions here about what happened, what did Iowa do, what was available. Some people enjoyed this, some people are upset, some people were ready to move on to another coach anyway, and now some have moved firmly into, well, if it's Ben McCollum, he's got the higher upside anyway. But first, let's process that Darian DeVries, after 1 year at West Virginia, is now Indiana's coach.
How much do we actually know? Know for certain about this situation. How much do we know about the talks that he had with Iowa?
What we actually know and what we think are two different things here. Some of this is speculation. I can tell you what I believe from talking to people close to the situation. I'll leave it at that. And that is simply this. If Darian DeVries did not have the leverage of this Indiana job, I do believe he would be Iowa's next basketball coach. But he had this, and he had this in part because other potential candidates at Indiana passed. TJ Otzelberger was one of the people contacted by Indiana about his interest in the job. But with West Virginia out of the tournament, which was a snub, suddenly Darian DeVries is there because they declined to even go into the NIT. So at that point,
is that all we know though? We don't know anything about. We really don't know about anything about the talks that Iowa might or might not have had with Darian DeVries, right?
I don't know about what was actually said. What I do know is that Camp DeVries just feels like the difference in what Iowa can offer and Indiana can offer was a wide enough gap that he felt better about winning at Indiana. And of course, there's all the history at Indiana, and it is still a sleeping giant and a premier job. And though I've compared it to Nebraska football, it is easier to quickly turn around a basketball program than it is a football program.
And Indiana they're not as far gone as Nebraska's football program. They have won 2 Big Ten titles, like not tournament titles, but they've won the conference twice in the last 12 years. I mean, they have.
Mm-hmm.
Nebraska's nowhere close to that. But I guess what I'm getting at is it's always funny in hindsight. You hear all these people who are absolutely certain about what happened and what didn't happen and what went wrong with all of this stuff, and they really don't know. They've got their own narrative. They know what they want to believe, and then they use some of the facts, like he's not going to Iowa and he is going to Indiana, to bolster their opinion. And I think that's what we have a lot of going on here, where they're just certain that Beth Getz didn't come strong enough with an offer, that she dropped the ball, that it's on her. They're some of the crap coming out of West Virginia you can read all day long. These conspiracy theories, like he's had this in the works. He and Tucker have had this in the works since early in the season. And you're just like, I mean, people don't know that. They're just speculating. We do this as fans, but we don't know. And so if you want to if you're going to be somebody that just wants to have it out for Beth Getz, you just want to have it out for the Iowa athletics program, well, you know what, man, just have at it. Right. But don't sit there and try to act like you have some sort of insider trading knowledge here. You don't know. Darian DeVries may have wanted this job. He may have been thinking about this job for a while. Iowa may not have ever really been close with Darian DeVries. We don't know.
Some of that we don't know, Andy. And one thing to compare it to, it's going back a long time, but there were a lot of Hawkeye fans out there that just assumed that Bob Stoops wanted the Iowa football job. And Bob Stoops privately felt like it's much easier to win at Oklahoma than it is at Iowa. And it worked out pretty well for Bob Stoops. And hey, Hawkeye fans, it worked out pretty well for Iowa too. So you just have to wait and see what happens. But I think it's a nuanced conversation, because just to get to the financials of it, there was never a world where Iowa can match Indiana head to head with NIL. I mean, Indiana spent $5 million on its roster last year.
Yeah.
And it's reportedly prepared and did up that to $7 million this year. Now, Beth Getz is going to be able to, with rev share and with the Big Ten's pot continuously growing, she is going to be able to offer millions in NIL just from the athletic department's part of funding that. And it is going to go up considerably from what it was under Fran McCaffrey for many reasons. Commitment from the athletic department, need to get the men's basketball program stronger, and because fans were done with the Fran McCaffrey era, the overwhelming majority of them. So they had to make the move in part to re-engage the fan base, get season ticket sales back up, get actual attendance back up, get NIL outside the athletic department back up. So that's all in play here. And we know Darian DeVries enough to know this wasn't about the money he and his family were going to make. He wanted the commitment as much as possible to be able to win. And that is the NIL world. And just like Iowa would never be able to match Ohio State in football when it comes to NIL, Iowa basketball is not going to be able to match Indiana basketball in NIL, even though Iowa is prepared to significantly move the program forward in many ways. Another thing that happened this week, Andy, Iowa just sent to all alums and donors and season ticket holders a survey from Beth Getz asking, how do we upgrade the fan experience? What do we need to do better? There's a lot that's going to happen, and Hawkeye fans just need to watch this play out. I know many of them are disappointed. On a personal level, I'm kind of disappointed. We try to disclose our actual feelings here because complete objectivity is difficult, but being forthright, being transparent is something that our listeners and viewers should expect from us. I like Darian DeVries. I like his whole family. I thought he would have been perfect in many ways to re-energize this fan base, but I'm not mad at him. I don't blame him. So good luck to Darian DeVries. I continue to like him. This is just a fascinating thing that's happened because he wasn't Indiana's first choice, but he was Indiana's choice right when Iowa wanted to hire him. So this all happened. Now we have to see what's next.
Yeah, I don't know how close Iowa was to hiring him. Maybe they weren't close. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. We don't know what we don't know Beth gets well enough. Haven't been through this before. I absolutely wanted Darian DeVries to get this job. I thought he was a perfect fit for Iowa. Off the court more than on the court. I think on the court, he's still kind of an unknown commodity at this level. I mean, at times looked pretty good with West Virginia, but then things did go awry there. He didn't have a T.J. Otzelberger type first season with West Virginia. And the jury's still out. We don't know about his coaching at this level. Feel pretty good about it. Looks pretty good potential, but we don't know. But off the court, he looked to me like the exact thing that Iowa needed. I mean, exactly what they needed to get in touch with their fan base and pull everybody together in one circle again. But we do this every time it seems like there's a coaching vacancy. You know, I mean, and we always forget our history. I remember we've gone through so many big coaching changes in our time here, Murph, and we all, you know, it's like it all goes the same way. Somebody leaves, the Register would come out with a list of, you know, best potential fits for that job.
We all do it.
We all do. And then we all start talking about that list and we like move into that list. Like, okay, these are the ones that they should hire. And then you just like them more and more, especially if it was your idea to put them on that list. You know, you just start moving into that more and more. And then time and again, the AD picked somebody who wasn't on that list at all. And we're like, what? They weren't on my list. And then we just can't accept it. We can't figure it out. And then all of a sudden you meet the guy or woman even. I mean, with it's been women's basketball coaches too. We've been through this on, and you meet them and you're like, oh, okay, maybe they do make a little bit more sense. And then, you know, after a little while, chances are you can't imagine anybody but that actual person taking that job. And then something goes wrong. And you're like, well, you know, they didn't use my list, so no wonder it didn't go wrong. But we're just like, we don't know. No one saw. I mean, Darian DeVries, how many times was he a candidate? He was a candidate for a whole bunch of jobs, a whole bunch of times, and then to the point where nobody had hired him and everybody's just like, oh, well, he's no longer a candidate. And then Brian Harden hires him. You're like, oh, that makes perfect sense. He's a candidate. And then he works out, and everybody's like, okay, well, Brian Harden's going to go exactly that same route again. He's going to find another high-level assistant that has a connection to Iowa, and he doesn't go that route. He goes to Ben McCollum, and we're like, who is he? We figure it out, and we're like, oh, actually, that makes perfect sense. And then he does work out. And now we're just like, well, what are we going to do if we lose Ben McCollum? So, you know, this is such, like the ADs going down into their bunker. Mm-hmm. If you're an AD these days, high level or mid-major, I feel like you got a list of coaches for all of your sports who are with you at all times. It's like it's deep in your phone. You might change it from time to time, but you're never without it. You've got it all the time, and you're working on that list. And who knows who's on her list? She's probably had that list for a year or more because she knew this was coming with Fran McCaffrey. So we don't know. She may, and that list was probably started long before Ben McCollum was even a gleam in anyone's eye. So she's probably talking with other people that we're not thinking of, and she may hire one of those people that we're not thinking of. We don't know. And then at the time, it may be a little bit shocking, but I can guarantee that there's been a lot of thought put into this that we probably aren't even aware of.
And what Beth Getz is doing is she is putting this all on herself. This is very much her show, and she's running it, and she's keeping a tight circle, and there's speculation and there's facts. And a lot of this is just speculation, and we don't know. I can tell you what I think. If this had happened last year, is Darian DeVries the coach? Yes, I believe he is. But this is a year past that. He went to West Virginia. I think it was pretty clear he wanted out of West Virginia, even after 1 year, even after saying last year he would be there many years and thought this would be a place he would be a long time. But he had options. He took them. The transfer portal isn't just for players. Coaches can hop in at any time too. And Indiana is going to hit that buyout, which was a pretty high buyout. So good luck to Darian DeVries. And also keep in mind, there is some NIL confusion out there, and we all understand it's not really what we picture.
It's not really NIL.
It's not really NIL. It's not a signing T-shirts at a car dealership. Yeah. It is. It's pay for play. It's pay for play. It's paying the players. And there's the outside supplemental NIL like the Swarm. And then there's now what's going to happen increasingly with athletic departments where they're taking that $100 million a year just from media rights alone from the Big Ten Conference, and they're going to begin sharing that with athletes around $21 million. That figure will go up. So you have the rev share, you also have the athletic department NIL, and then you have the supplemental stuff. And I do believe that Beth Getz is trying to set this up where you set it up with what you can count on from your athletic department. And then you try to enhance that with the supplemental NIL. And it's not what most of us want for college athletics. I, in fact, hate this. I hate what this has become, but I don't stop watching and I still care. And remember, just one more thought on NIL. Indiana is one of those schools that we have underestimated. Look what happened with Indiana football. They jumped into NIL in the portal, and they went to the college football playoff, something none of us could ever picture.
Well, they got a really good coach, too. I mean, the coach is everything right now. He's the one that, can lure players and keep the players. I mean, the money helps, certainly, but if they don't have the connection with the coach, they ain't coming.
Right.
But, Indiana's, we were talking about this yesterday, and we see the numbers come out. Mm-hmm. And I totally agree with you. I mean, this whole thing, it is sickening. Indiana, the revelation that Indiana spent $5 million on a crappy roster last year that got their coach fired. $5 million of fans' money went nowhere. Those fans got nothing for their investment. And I'm sure a few of those fans gave big chunks of money. This wasn't, lemonade sales. This was, some major investments that, the AD leaned on his big donors to get. But as a fan, you donate to this kind of stuff. I mean, I hear people, and we see that all over the message boards the past few days, yesterday especially, with, people just scolding message boards. That's such a dated term.
Yeah, that's
all over social media
right.
with people. Well, Iowa fans, you just have to get on board and stop bitching about it. This is the way it is. You need to buck up so we can get a good team. Okay, you have a point there.
It's an emotional time.
But the people who don't like it, they have a point also. Look at Indiana, $5 million, and what did that roster do? It got your coach fired. That's how well it did.
Look at Kansas State.
I mean, yeah, that dude got $2 million. What did that get you?
If I'm a major donor, I'm not, because he felt terrible.
If I'm a major donor, I ain't doing that twice. You have no guarantees. This system is messed up.
It is.
You cannot just say it's the way it is. You got to deal with it. No, you make a stink about it until someone is able to do something about it.
It is just so out of whack, and I don't know. We don't see an easy answer for it. I was actually reeling when I heard in national reporting from credible reporters, well, Iowa was only able to pay its top players $300,000. Iowa had men's basketball players making $300,000. Really? I didn't know it was that much. I mean, most of us.
And then
most of us dream of a salary like that.
Some of the players saying they deserve to make more than that. You're like,
huh?
Okay, man, I don't know what world you're having this conversation in, but I'm not allowed in that world. I don't live there. I have to stay. I can only view it from across the busy street. Across the railroad tracks. Yeah, I can't. I have no access to that world.
I don't have access to that world either. Wow. Let's get a quickie poll from WCI Pools and Spas, and this goes to the Darian DeVries to Indiana. And the question is, which fans most enjoyed Darian DeVries going to Indiana? Hoosier fans, Cyclone fans, or Fran fans? Andy, which do you think, which group of these subgroups do you think had the most enjoyment?
I think it's Cyclone fans. I mean, the Fran fan, it's between Fran fans and Cyclone fans, which is crazy because it's the Hoosier fans that actually get the good news. But there's a bunch of Hoosier fans, I'm sure, that don't believe that Darian DeVries is good enough for that job. We know how that this goes.
And it appears that he was not the first, second, or third choice.
Yeah, right. Cyclone fans, for them, this is pure joy. Because first of all, you get Darian DeVries out of the Big 12, and then your arch rival. I mean, first of all, your arch rival gets seemingly pump faked, but then also you get him out of the Big 12. Fran fans, I mean, they are Iowa fans. Then this doesn't make Iowa look good. I think again, we don't really even know that.
It hurts a little. It's a bruised ego moment. But
if they offered him, which you think we did, yeah, I don't know. I mean, so they're at least a little divided over that. I think Cyclone fans are totally united.
I can say with certainty that they at least knew what the Iowa job would be and what kind of money was possible there as it compares to Indiana. That at least was known by Camp DeVries. And Indiana, it's just a big gap. It's a big gap, but Iowa is going to up its game in all ways for men's basketball. And Andy, it's uncomfortable to even talk about Ben McCollum because, well, for one thing, Drake is your alma mater, but there's so much excitement about their game against Missouri, and he immediately moves in as the top choice of the fans of Iowa. And the speculation is everywhere. Some people have been pushing for him as having the higher ceiling because he's thought to be like a coaching genius. And he did a pretty good job of proving that at Drake when he took 4 previous Division II players in the starting lineup and won 30 games. Mm-hmm. And did it in a style that allowed him a chance to win games by shortening possessions, maximizing efficiency. I think people are misguided that think that Ben McCollum coaches boring basketball. Ben McCollum coaches whatever he has to give his team a chance to win. Back in the day, Tim Floyd did that at Iowa State. TJ Otzelberger started his career at Iowa State doing that same thing. What do I need to do to give the team a chance to get to the NCAA tournament? So he moves into this position. We don't know what his thoughts are. He stayed at Northwest Missouri State for a long time, but we do know, and it's been pointed out, he's born in Iowa City, grew up a huge Tom Davis fan, a fan of Hawkeye basketball. That was his program. There's a lot there to like, but it does feel, I don't know, it leaves a bad taste in my mouth to be having to openly speculate about a coach who has a really excited fan base and a game coming up tomorrow.
Well, I appreciate that. I have a bad taste in my mouth about it too. Again, yeah, he was born in Iowa City, grew up, I think, in the Storm Lake area. He has a lot of connections to the state of Iowa, and I know that he grew up loving Hawkeye basketball. That doesn't mean that he's Beth Goetz's first choice at this point. I mean, we think that he should be because our math adds up that way.
We don't know her list.
We don't know. I mean, and the road is littered with mid-major coaches who worked miracles in one season. And sometimes they're hired and they flop at the next level. And sometimes they're not hired and the next few years at their mid-major school do not look that good. I mean, there are plenty of things that you can say that are, that deem Ben McCollum to be an unknown commodity still at this point. I mean, we like a lot of things. I love everything that he's done at Drake. I love it. I love it all. But you don't know how he fits at the next level. And you don't know what he's thinking about staying at Drake. I mean, he told me the last week that he came to Drake wanting to have one transition year where he kind of, bridged the gap between Darren and himself, and, brought in these new players to help kind of lay down the program and establish to the Drake community and the other players that he brought in that this is how he wants to do things. This is how he does do things. Those players already knew that. They had played with him for a long time. And that, the next years at Drake were going to be even better. Then you'll talk to somebody who's just like, no, you have one year like that and at a mid-major school, and you gotta move, man. You gotta move because you may never have another year like that. And then you hate to hear that, and then it makes all the sense in the world. But I mean, at this point, I just can't move too far into that. He's going to do what he wants to do. Beth Getz is going to do what she needs to do. And I'm not going to have an ounce of control over the whole thing. Right now, the Drake Bulldogs are 30-3, and they're in the NCAA tournament. They have what looks to me like a good matchup tomorrow with Missouri. And I think if you ask any Drake fan, the one thing that everybody wants is a legitimate victory in the NCAA tournament. They want
not a first four victory.
Not a first four game.
Yeah, first round.
That counted. We love that. I'm not taking that was an amazing game against Wichita State a few years ago. But we want a first round win. And I don't think anybody is thinking past that.
Has there been a first round win at Drake in your lifetime?
I think maybe when I was like one. I
71, 1971.
Like 70, yeah, maybe, or not even barely born at that point. But not in my conscious lifetime. It's never been close. We've been down this road. I mean, the idea of going to the NCAA tournament was ridiculous for the longest time. And it's taken this long to raise the bar from make the NCAA tournament to win a game in the NCAA tournament.
Let's hear from Ben McCollum about the matchup with Missouri. Drake maximizes efficiency, often shooting with inside of 5 seconds on the shot clock. The Missouri Tigers like to run, so it's an interesting contrast in styles.
Team that you can at least kind of match up with, kind of compete with, kind of fight with, and you want a bracket that's you can make a little run in. So hopefully it works out for us, but we'll be ready to compete. I haven't watched them play. I know they've had some really big wins. They play in a really competitive league. Coach Gates is fantastic, really good coach, great staff. It'll be a tough game. You want a team?
It will be played tomorrow night at 6:35 p.m. on True TV. Now, the Iowa State women play tonight.
Let me make one more statement. Let's say one more thing about the Drake game there. Last year I felt really good about Drake matching up with Washington State and that Drake team. Darnell Brody was a big body. I mean, a certifiable big man in the middle. Mm-hmm. You've got Tucker, who's 6'7", could shoot, could slash, a whole bunch of other shooters, a bunch of defenders. That was a really balanced Drake team. And within 2 minutes on the floor against Washington State, and I'm sitting there courtside in Omaha, it was clear to me that was a fundamental mismatch for that Bulldog team. I think Drake fans should prepare themselves to see that tomorrow. There is just athletically, physically, there is a huge step up from the Missouri Valley to the SEC, or even the Pac-10 and Pac-12 at that point last year, to the major conferences. There can be, with some of these teams, and that difference was exploited immediately by Washington State. Drake fought tooth and nail in that game, but it came down to the fact that Washington State's big bodies just beat up on Darnell until he fouled out of the game. And then Drake had, Nate Ferguson came in there, did all he could. He wasn't nearly big enough to handle those guys. And it just, they basically just leaned on the Bulldogs until they couldn't support it anymore and then broke, and Washington State won the game.
But if Tucker DeVries has an average shooting night, they still win that game.
I think so, yeah. But, I mean, still, fundamentally, if they don't shoot the lights out, just matchup-wise, fundamentally, Drake was at a huge disadvantage. And what I'm saying is that this team, this Drake team, does not have nearly the size that one did.
This Drake team has beaten Vanderbilt, Kansas State, Florida
Miami.
Atlantic, among others, Miami. So we'll see how that plays out. We'll see tonight how Iowa State does in the first four. Now, the Cyclones started the season in the AP top 10. So to be an 11 seed, playing an 11 seed against Princeton, to get to the first round against Michigan Friday morning is not something anybody would have predicted for this Cyclone team, but that is what happened. And Iowa State feels overlooked. Here's Audie Crooks and Addie Brown.
I just think that we have a lot to prove and that sometimes we fly a little bit under the radar. We played probably the toughest schedule in the country, and our record reflects that, and I think that kind of allowed people to write us off a little bit. But I just think that we're, like I said before, not a team to be messed with, and we need to be taken seriously, and that's just kind of the chip on the shoulders to show that and to prove that individually and collectively.
We definitely played a little bit of that underdog mentality. I personally feed off of that. I feel like we were definitely overlooked, but at the end of the day, you just got to go out there and do you and prove yourself right. It's not about proving others wrong or anything like that. It's just about proving yourself right.
Yeah, I don't know that Iowa State was overlooked. They started the season in the top 10. They
became overlooked because they lost a bunch of games early.
Yeah, they have one quad one win and two quad two wins. But this is a team that should roll Princeton tonight. I mean, Princeton has no answer for Audie Crook. She could have another huge NCAA tournament game.
Yeah, and she had it was the first round last year. She was dominant.
Yeah, in the 40s. She scored in the 40s.
So good last year, and they really hit their stride there. And then they went up against Stanford and what's her face?
Game went to overtime, I believe.
Cameron Brink was blocking her shots right and left. So that was a tough matchup for them. But I mean that first round game, it really looked they were clicking.
The Iowa State men play Lipscomb Friday in Milwaukee. As everyone knows, no Keyshawn Gilbert. He will not play in the NCAA tournament no matter how many games Iowa State wins. He's not traveling with the team either. So Iowa State will play Lipscomb, a team that likes to shoot the three. And here's TJ Otzelberger on moving forward, Norman Dale style. Our team is on the floor.
To this time of the year, and there's so much adrenaline and excitement just to be out there. We're fortunate to be part of the field and to be playing. And so we have tremendous gratitude for that. Again, we didn't want to go out of the Big 12 tournament as early as we did, but one of the things that happens with that is you do get a few more days, and then, certainly another one when you play Friday. So, again, as always, excited to get back to the practice court, excited to earn the right to win, and just get out there and compete with one another and have fun preparing for this opportunity.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. The Friday game, that's one more day's rest, so that helps get a good week of rest. Taman Lipsey especially is going to need to be healthy for Iowa State to make any kind of run now that Keyshawn Gilbert is out of this. And North Carolina blew out San Diego State last night. Now, North Carolina really should not have been selected to the NCAA tournament. This kind of goes to talent versus actual credentials. No one questions North Carolina's talent, and last night you saw why. I mean, they won easily, and here's an interesting wrinkle. North Carolina is actually favored against Ole Miss in the next matchup, so you could see Iowa State and North Carolina.
Yeah, those arguments that they don't belong in the tournament start to get full of holes when it starts looking like they could do a lot of damage in the tournament. They look like a tournament team. Iowa State needs to win the first game, beat Lipscomb, and get rolling right now. They need to. Are we still convinced that we can predict this team from one game to the next? I'm not.
Let's ask.
I feel like they should
Cyclone
beat
fan.
Lipscomb.
Aiden, you follow the Cyclones as closely as anybody. Where are you with having a gut feeling how Iowa State's going to play against Lipscomb?
I mean, you feel it. I shouldn't say this. It feels like a given that they'll win, but this is a horrible matchup in terms of you don't want a team that can shoot the three. Lipscomb can shoot the three, so
You're having BYU flashbacks, though.
yeah, very much so.
Iowa State does need to guard that corner three better. What is going on with that?
I mean, I think that's just Kyle Green's defense is kind of built on trapping one side and hoping that they don't flip it to the other. And it seems to be that teams are starting to figure that out, especially teams that can shoot threes like BYU and Lipscomb. So
This doesn't feel like UAB, though. This doesn't feel like there's a locker room problem.
No, not at all.
To me, I think these guys, especially, I know there's been some flux with Keyshawn Gilbert that was probably wearing on coaches and players mentally. Not that it's Keyshawn's fault that he's injured, but will he play? Won't he play? How will he play? Is he 60%, 80%? And it seems like Iowa State, the decision was made in part to not only let Keyshawn get healthy, but just to say, let's take the flux out of this. Here's our team. We're going to win or lose with these guys.
sorry, I had to cough. Yeah, I think too.
That's
with
allowed.
That, I can't remember who reported it yesterday, but someone had a very good quote from Joshua Jefferson saying he was really proud of the way that Keyshawn Gilbert was handling all of this injury stuff, in terms of that he was still pretty involved, in terms of being a leader on and off the court. I think during the Kansas State game, it was a weird spot where they lost to BYU on that Tuesday, I think. And they were in a spot where they had to win that game to kind of protect them on the 3 line. And Jefferson kind of said, he was the one that kept us in the game. So
we could see him front and center when they got the
Yeah.
bid. Andy, you could see Keyshawn Gilbert right there in the middle, happy and clapping.
He looked like every other player there, like there was no reservation in his joy. I don't know what's going on there. I don't know that I want to know what's going on there. Something's going on there. It's clear.
Something is not quite what it seems, but I don't know what it is.
Look, I mean, if he could play at all, he's playing. This is it. This is the end of the season. He's been paid to be there. Anybody that's in on that collective wants him there. That's they paid for that. I mean, the more I look at this, the more annoyed I get by it. But I don't know the whole story. There's always a lot to these stories. And you find out later on, and it makes perfect sense. But right now, it doesn't make any sense.
We have a programming note for you. We have not done this in the 6 months or so that we've been doing Murph and Andy here on Iowa Everywhere. But Friday, we are going to go live at 2:30. That'll be after the Iowa State women, we think, will have played Michigan, but the Iowa State men will have just finished against Lipscomb. We debated going before the game, but then the Iowa State women are playing at that time, so we're going to go live at 2:30 p.m. We'll put some reminders out there, but like Monday's show across platforms was watched and listened by more than 30,000 people. So we're appreciative of the interest that there is right now. And we'll be there at 2:30. That should be, unless it's a close game, and it shouldn't be, the game will be over by 2:30 p.m. Confluence is the official beer of Murph and Andy. Confluence is also where good things come together. And Andy has vowed to drink a Confluence every Friday from here until the end of this show. And I don't mean today's show. I mean till we're not on anymore.
Yeah, I've kind of saddled myself with something there. I am going to be I will be doing the show from Omaha on Friday. So I will have to pack the Confluence with me. Yeah, I'm going to go over to our friend Dave Zavolinsky's house to do his little NCAA tournament.
What are the odds that he can be quiet while you're on the air? He's so loud.
I don't know. I'm glad that the FCC isn't watching us anymore. There'll be some problems there.
There'll be problems, no doubt about that. Let's get some more.
But wait, there's more. From Either Or Eatery and Patio.
The
Don't
Fales
try that
family
patio
had
today.
Yeah, no, but the patio last night was great there. The Fales family met for dinner over at Either
nice.
Or. Yeah, we all sat out there. I had the fried bologna sandwich.
It's a staple.
It was sublime. It was amazing. Loved it. The kids actually were like, we're too big to play on that playground. I don't want to play. And then finally we're like, just go try it out. Go try it out. There's my bologna sandwich. Look at that.
I'll bet they loved playing there. You know, kids, they do sometimes feel like they're too old, but I can get on a couple of those.
Well, they went over there like reluctantly, and then
fun.
we couldn't get them back.
Oh yeah. Do you still call it it was called a jungle gym when I was.
That was with all the bars and stuff.
Monkey bars.
Yeah, the monkey bars.
Are they
Yeah,
still called monkey bars, or did somebody determine that that's offensive to monkeys?
I don't think it was the monkeys that was offended, but probably that and the fact that kids were cracking their skulls open when they were falling down.
Forgot about that. Yeah,
the
good
raw
point.
pavement,
And
the hard pavement.
they would set those up on concrete. They would set those up, or they'd have that slide. It's just straight down, like you're going to plunge into hell on the concrete. And on a 100-degree day, you'd get on that slide, and it would be hotter than the surface of the sun, but you'd do it anyway.
Burn your ski at second-degree burns from going down the slide. On the last day of winter, over 3 million people are under blizzard warnings across the central U.S. Powerful winter weather system, blasting heavy snow, high winds from the central plains to the upper Midwest, gusts up to 50 miles per hour expected from Kansas to Minnesota. We just took a peek at this system on the radar. It goes from basically the panhandle of Texas all the way up to southern Ontario. Just all the same system, and somehow it's going around Des Moines. So, once again, seems like we've been left out on some of this stuff this year, and I'm fine with it.
Yeah, me too.
Today is National Poultry Day, and that's a bit ironic since egg prices are at their highest point ever. So, strange thing about this crazy wave of bird flu, which is the main cause of the incredible rise of egg prices. So, I was reading an article on this the other day. It is not affecting Canada, really. And there are a few reasons, evidently, for that. The weather is colder, so the egg farms in Canada are more enclosed than the American egg facilities, thus preventing the flu from getting in as easily from the outside. Also, Canada has fewer free-range flocks than America, and free-range chickens are more susceptible to the bird flu. And then the biggest reason, a big egg farm in Canada is apparently 25,000 birds, and a big egg farm in Iowa can have 1 million birds. It's unbelievable. Viruses don't spread as fast, and when they do, far fewer birds are wiped out, and they don't spread on to other flocks as easily.
In this photo, the chickens don't look like they have much of a life.
It doesn't look like a great life at all.
No.
It also looks like a lot of money in eggs down there in that little chute.
Yeah.
A debate over laundry has sparked a debate over TikTok.
Oh, no, they're not eating these pods or anything, are they?
No. This is a strange debate here. A girl shows a video of her boyfriend's appalling laundry habit. He puts in the clothes, then he fills the detergent cap like this with liquid, and then he tosses the entire thing, cap and all, into the laundry.
The cap and all, because up until you said cap and all, I was like, this sounds a lot like me.
Yeah, no,
but
he throws just the whole cap in there. He doesn't, pour it out, try to get every last drop. He just throws the whole thing in there. Why is this a debate? I haven't done this myself, but it sounds to me like someone has just figured out a way to use all of the detergent in the cap.
And to have the cap not leak on your hand the next time. I may
back
do
into the
this.
bottle or anything. Yeah, I mean, the cap comes out perfectly clean, right?
This guy could be a genius.
That actually sounds like it makes perfect sense to me. She's all up in arms about it. From Wallet Hub, the 10 most overweight and obese cities in America. Starts with McAllen. Man, I can't speak. Starts with McAllen, Texas, and the other 9 are all in the SEC. Also, McAllen, Texas, in the SEC. Yeah,
so
they're all in the SEC. The entire thing. There you go. Whole thing. Kansas City, Omaha, and Des Moines are way down the list. Down the list.
Look at us, all in shape.
We're still pretty obese, but we're just down the top 100. But that's pretty good. I mean, the SEC, geez, they just dominate this stuff. From the American Kennel Club, the newest list of America's most popular dog breeds. Most popular, once again, the French Bulldog, which took the title back in 2022 from the Labrador Retriever, which is still number 2, followed by the Golden Retriever, the German Shepherd, the Poodle, the Dachshund, the Beagle, the Rottweiler, the Bulldog, that'd be the English Bulldog.
Would that be Griff? Which one of these is Griff?
Griff, yeah, the English Bulldog.
Just say Griff.
And the German short-haired Pointer. Rounds out the top 10. This does not count Labradoodles or Golden Doodles or Sheepadoodles or Bernedoodles or any other type of doodle, as they are not purebred dogs and thus not recognized by the AKC. Or any of the other kennel clubs, I don't think. Today's stupid criminal, we'll finish with this, is from Florida. He is this man, Michael Esquilin. He stole an ambulance and led police on a chase through some neighborhoods, sideswiping cars and making a general mess of things. Police finally get him to stop, and dash cam video shows that Michael is drinking a beer the whole time. You see him, here he is, just
he's really swerving.
There's no way you're not going to be able to say, is that the stolen ambulance? And you see him as they pull him over. They finally order him out of the vehicle. They pull him over, order him out of the vehicle, and as you could see if you watch the rest of this video, he actually pounds the rest of his beer before he gets out of the car.
He wanted to go to jail. That's the only explanation.
And that, of course, adds open container and DUI to the long list of charges that he already had coming against him. And that's your more, everybody.
Grimaldi's fan photos are sent to Murph_Andy at iowaeverywhere.com. Did you hear that, Andy? That's the address.
Yes,
okay.
I will not ever be the one that checks that address.
Grimaldi's coal-fired brick oven pizza. You can stop by the West Des Moines District at Prairie Trail Ankeny locations. We will pick a winner from the fan photos for the $50 gift card to Grimaldi's. Give that away on Friday. And if you're somebody traveling to one of the many tournaments, one of the many tournament games, there's not just the NCAA tournament, send us a fan photo. We would love to see it. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, it is time for Mr. Movie.
It's time to go to the movies with Mr. Movie, Mike Woody, presented by P&P Small Engines.
Since 1976, P&P Small Engines has been serving the needs of Central Iowa homeowners and getting ready for a day.
I think it's time for mowers. I haven't heard from Jeff this week. He's probably, storing the last couple of snowblowers, or maybe they're just on huge sale.
Probably
Andy,
doesn't
what do
know
you
what
think?
to do exactly at this point. Yeah, do you keep the snow blowers out, or do you move into the lawnmowers?
I think you plan to put them off to the side, but they're still there just in case.
If you're P&P Small Engines today, are you looking to the northwest and feeling like, I wish that was us? Because they're getting socked with like 10 inches of snow.
He might move to Sioux City. You never know. I could line him up with some people up there.
Our out-of-the-box movie topic with Mike Woody, Mr. Movie, today is in honor of our good friend Bryce Miller, who is with family and close friends in San Diego hospital here at the end of his cancer fight. And Bryce loves fishing, and Andy has fished with Bryce many, many times. So in honor of Bryce Miller's love of fishing, we're going to have a favorite fishing scene from a movie. So there are more than you might think. Doesn't have to be a movie about fishing, although I did pick kind of a, would you say A River Runs Through It as a movie about fishing, Mr. Movie?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Sure.
Well, I mean, it goes to bigger themes, and of course, like many movies, it ends up talking about life, and fishing is a way to express that. But my favorite scene is when Brad Pitt, who is cast in this movie and looks so much in this movie like Robert Redford, the director of this movie, looked when he was a young man. It kind of freaks you out here in, what was this, the early 1990s. But based on Norman MacLean's great book, there is a scene, I love this scene, where the Brad Pitt character, do you remember his name, Andy?
His name is Paul. Yeah, Paul
He's
McLean.
Paul. Okay.
Yeah, he's Paul. Mm-hmm. Paul and Norman. Mm-hmm.
And he's fly fishing, and he's fantastic at it. And he hooks onto a fish as his father and brother watch from the side of the river. And he is determined to land this fish. And he goes completely underwater a couple of times. There's a moment you fear he even drowned. He goes through rapids. He won't give up on it. And then after a lengthy scene, you see him at the end of this journey, and he's got this huge trout. Would it be a trout, Andy?
Yeah, like a big brown trout. Yeah, beautiful
and
fish.
he's holding it up, and he's got this movie star smile, and he does look a lot like Robert Redford in that moment. And it's kind of this man, Paul's finest moment. Like everything comes together for him in this moment, and I love that scene because he's actually a troubled person, but in that scene, he's at his very best. So I'll pick that. What do you have, Mr. Movie?
I've got, I noticed that I didn't send you the correct sheet, so you don't have any idea what I've got, do you?
Don't have any idea of anything you have to say today.
Well, I see that. In honor of Bryce and his love of fishing, but also his love of writing. He is such a great writer.
Great writer.
I'm going to pick a movie, old movie. You guys probably haven't seen it, but I bet you've read the book. Ernest Hemingway, The Old Man and the Sea, which stars Spencer Tracy. And it is a classic movie about this old man, and he hooks on to the big one, and then the troubles begin.
That is a classic.
I saw that movie when I was a kid with my parents. My dad was a huge Spencer Tracy fan and Hemingway fan too.
You probably didn't understand it as a kid.
Nope, did not.
If you watched it now, it makes a lot more sense.
And Hemingway is one guy that might have been in more bars than Bryce. It's a short list.
It's got to be close though.
It has a drink named after him. I don't know that Bryce has a drink named after him at this point. I mean, that'll
could happen.
Inevitably come at some point. But the Hemingway daiquiri. He had a few of those.
Bryce's final line as he was leaving the Des Moines Register in his farewell column, the last sentence was, "As for me, you'll find me with a pint at Cooney's." That was
or
true.
on the water with a fishing pole. Yep,
that's true. All right, Andy, what do you have?
Well, I'm glad we did this subject. I'd forgotten about this movie, and I saw this movie when I was 9 with my mom, or I think maybe both my parents and my grandfather. So it was a movie with my grandfather, which I think that's maybe the only movie I've ever watched with him. We went to the theater and we saw On Golden Pond with Henry Fonda, who was very old at that point. This was his last movie.
Right.
And Katharine Hepburn, and it's one of her last movies. And Jane Fonda and Dabney Coleman, and the cast is very small, but it's loaded with absolute superstar, some of the greatest actors in the history of this country. And they're all talking about that going in. I can remember them talking about how amazing it is that these actors are together. But it also had just what even at that point when I'm 9, I'm thinking, this is how I want my life to end up. All right. I want to retire to a place with a lake like Golden Pond, which I believe is in New Hampshire, where I can fish all I want every single day with whomever I want or with nobody. and I think his name is Norman also. Norman.
Yeah, and the
Fales.
fish's
Norman,
name is
Norman
Walter,
Fales.
I believe. The fish they're trying to catch
Walter.
all the time.
Yes, right. They're trying to catch Walter, who's also a trout. Yeah. But he's fishing, and Billy, the kid, is what is the name of that actor?
I don't remember his name. He's kind of he drove them a little crazy at the beginning, but there comes to be a real bond.
Yeah, it's like really unlikely. It's Jane Fonda, who's their daughter, her boyfriend's kid stays with Henry Fonda and Katharine Hepburn for like weeks as Jane Fonda and Dabney Coleman go to Europe together. And he just gets stuck with them, but he ends up just fishing all the time. And it's an amazing movie, but I can remember just being moved at how good this was. I mean, Henry Fonda and Katharine Hepburn each win Best Actor awards for their performances. Chariots of Fire beats this movie for Best Picture, and I was devastated by that because I love this movie. I still love this movie. But the fishing scenes are amazing because every time he throws his line in the water, he catches a huge fish, which is not fishing, right? That's catching, and that doesn't exist. But it's still amazing. I love this movie.
And it's a movie that really has nothing to do with fishing.
No, it's about the relationship between a cantankerous old man and his daughter, and kind of the world. And he's old. He thinks he's going to die at any moment, and he's so negative. But the kid kind of breathes new life into him.
It's a great movie.
I didn't know what loons were. Norman the loons.
Yeah,
I didn't know I had to learn what those were. Doesn't he have like a heart attack at one point, and you think he's probably going to die right there?
Thinks he's having a heart attack like 3 or 4 times in the movie.
That's
he's
a good
great.
one.
Henry Fonda is just
it's really a good movie.
All right, Mr. Movie, what are you reviewing this week?
You know what? I've got 2 really good movies, and you don't know you don't know anything about either one of them, is my guess.
I want to hear.
Novocaine stars a young man named Jack Quaid, who, if he's done other things, I don't remember him. But his dad is Dennis Quaid. His mom is Meg Ryan. So it's not a bad household to grow up in, is my guess.
This movie looks bonkers. He can't feel pain.
He can't feel pain. He's got some kind of disease or something he's born with. He cannot, they pour coffee on his arm, and it's just welts everywhere, and he can't feel a thing, which is not a good thing, by the way. But I looked at the trailer for this movie. I looked at the poster, and I thought, this has got to be an absolutely horrible movie. It was a wonderful movie.
Really? Because it's action oriented. I showed Jenny the trailer to this, and she just said, that looks stupid.
No, it's not stupid. It's really charming. Because he can't feel pain, he has skills. People can shoot him, and he doesn't, unless they hit the heart, he keeps going. It's just a really fun movie. It's got a nice little romance to it. I walked out of that movie thinking, I almost didn't see it. And I'm glad I did. So
wow.
it's an easy B+. Easy.
Jeez. All right.
I think the boys would like it too.
Novocaine. The premise reminded me a little bit of Mr. Nobody, but he could or Nobody. I guess it was Nobody.
Yeah.
Better Call Saul, the actor name escaping me right now.
I'm gonna mess a brain fart also.
Never saw it.
It's good. Nobody.
All right, while you guys
somebody will hit us in the comments. Go ahead.
Let's talk about Black Bag. Black Bag is, first off, and I hesitate to say this, it's an art film. Okay,
Bob Odenkirk. Bob Odenkirk. There you go.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Spy thriller, Black Bag. Thank you for Bob Odenkirk.
And it is a tremendous movie, but it's hard to follow. As a matter of fact, Sue and I took her mom, who's 92, and she said, "Do you understand what they're saying?" Yeah, we do, but thanks for asking.
Did she ask loudly during the movie?
Yes, she did.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, she did.
Right.
But it's about these 2 spies. They're married. I think it's CIA, and there's somebody in their group that's a rat, and they have to figure out who it is because they're getting ready to do something that's not good. And it's a spy thriller, and it's really well made, and especially with Cate Blanchett, really well acted. So
And Michael Fassbender,
who plays almost a normal person.
Whoa.
almost.
Usually he plays these little wacky people.
But he played that assassin. It was that last year, a couple of years ago. He was good in that role. The assassin that did yoga in between his hits.
Yeah.
What's the grade for Black Bag?
It's a B+ as well. So we got 2 strong movies that are well worth seeing this weekend
In theaters.
in theaters.
All right. What do you have? You have a series, or we going to what's coming out next week?
Let's talk about what's going out next week, and then Russell's got something for you here.
Okay.
We've got the live action Snow White. I don't know. We'll
Right.
see.
Mm-hmm.
You can take the kids, Andy, and let me know if they like it.
I'm always so skeptical about these things.
I know the
remakes
live
and
action.
classics. They never make it better.
Yeah, they don't make it better. So
Yeah,
you've got
and-
that coming out, and then here's
yeah,
the
I'm
one that
skeptical too.
intrigues me. It's
Okay.
the Alto Knights, which stars Robert De Niro. First off, Barry Levinson directs it, so you know it's going to be good
Yeah.
from the directing side. But it stars Robert De Niro and Robert De Niro.
Oh, that's right. I've seen the
It
trailer
plays 2
for this.
characters, and they
Yeah.
have if you see the preview, they're sitting at the table talking to each other, and I'm like, I don't know how they did it. But
yeah, and this could be good, or it could be bad. I'll be with Barry Levinson. I would tend to think good, but it's like a kind of a gangster movie, right?
Yeah, and I think it's it is a true story. It's about gangsters, and he plays, so he's done some good job playing gangsters in the past.
What's going on at the Palms?
Oh, the Palms. Auditorium number 15 on Friday will open to the public for the Iowa State basketball game.
Oh,
So,
That's fun.
yeah, it's going to cost you $10 to get in, but then you get $10 worth of food or drinks.
so
how do you argue
that's a
with that?
push.
You're just
Yeah.
promising them that you're going to spend $10 at the concession stand.
Right, and
Which
you're going to
you would have anyway.
You're going to spend more than that, and he knows that. But to see that game on that big screen is pretty cool.
Yeah, that
And-
is cool. That's this Friday's game.
That's this Friday's game. Yep.
Okay, this Friday you can go to the Palms, watch on the big screen.
Yep.
Andy and I have done that before, and it was fun. I mean, they do a good job with that.
Done it
So
a few times. Yeah.
Yeah, we've done it a few times. So $10 to get in, but you get that back in food and drink, which
Yeah.
in a movie theater is pretty quick.
Seriously underrated cocktails there at
they've got some
at
good
the
stuff
Palms.
there.
Those guys can spend over there.
They've
They're
got good food. You'll go beyond the $10 if you.
Yeah.
You can get a good lunch there, good
Yeah, that
snacks.
food is really good. So
Oh, well, that sounds good. I'm glad to hear that. We'll put the word out on that a couple more times too.
Yeah,
Want
do.
people to know that. That's fun.
one other thing interesting, because your kids went there, there's a graduate from Roosevelt named Edgar Rosa, who was a good friend of my youngest son's when he was in
Okay.
high school. He's coming back to Des Moines with his film that he made called Bob Trevino Likes It. And it's playing at the Varsity on the 4th of April. So
Okay. Nice.
Edgar, when I knew him, had like a fro out to here. I saw a picture of him online. It's worth it. And Edgar's going to be there. So you won't
Okay.
have a hard time spotting him because he's got the biggest fro you've ever seen.
Really?
But
Oh,
he's
thank God it's still there. All right.
Actually, I think when he was really young, I think I coached him at Raccoon Valley. He was not
Well,
a
you
good
probably
player.
did. You coach pretty much everybody out there. Andy, who's the all-time sports fro leader? Bake McBride or who? Oscar Gamble?
Gamble, Bake McBride,
Dr. J back in the day. had a
Dr.
good
J. It was glorious. Haven Moses of the Broncos. Remember him?
one. Yeah.
I'm
You
going to put Edgar up against him.
Okay. All right.
Probably Oscar Gamble with that
Some
Yankees
good
hat
ones.
on. Gary
All right.
Matlock.
Thanks, Mr. Movie. You
All right,
enjoy
guys.
the
Good to
movies.
see you.
Good to see you too. All right. Again, you can go out to the Palms, Mr. Movie, presented by P&P Small Engines. Time now with Aiden's help for Throwdowns.
Throwdowns. It's Throwdowns. Backed by Heartland Tire and Auto.
Aiden,
right,
do you find
guys.
producing this show, presented in part by our friends at Heartland Tire and Auto, who treat you like family, do you find producing this kind of exhausting? How are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you. Yeah, a little bit. I don't know how AD does it.
There's a lot of moving parts.
Playing the drums. Yeah, right.
Aiden's playing the drums.
Going. Yep.
Well, we
Pressing
like having
pedals
you
with his
here. And
feet.
thank you for all your help. You do a great
Thanks
job.
for letting me hang out.
You
All right,
bet.
let's throw it down. March Madness is certainly top of my list for sports weekends. First weekend, I should say.
Yeah.
Where does it rank for you, Keith, in terms of best sports weekends of the year?
Whew. Boy, it's top 3 for sure. I think my love of football, it's probably still Championship Sunday when you get the AFC and NFC championship game. But the more fun thing about the NCAA tournament and why the start of it is right there is it's not just your excitement. If you're working, it's in the office. If you're out with friends or you go to a restaurant or a bar, it's everywhere. And Andy, there's something to it as well because it starts while people are working. So it's like a low productivity day because people are talking and turning in their office pools. It has a lot going for it that nothing else does.
I think it's my favorite, honestly.
Yeah,
I think it's become my favorite. Yeah, I mean, I usually get together with friends, and I don't have money on the games, but they all do, so there's that whole extra element. And you know, our teams are involved early and then they lose, but still, if they make it into the Sweet 16, I mean, that's 2 full weekends that you're really engaged. And I mean, really engaged, like personally engaged locally. And we just don't have that really with we don't have that with other sports. I mean, we have regular season games and then maybe a playoff game or a bowl game in football. But I mean, it can actually build a little bit. And it's the time of year where you need something, right? I mean, you're just so ready to come out of your shell and do stuff.
Yeah.
There's just a lot going for it.
It's such a happy experience too. I watched Michael Admire's report last night on WHO 13's news. It was in the news block where you were anchoring, and just the happiness was just coming, was just radiating from it, wasn't it? He had taken the trip with the team and they had just gotten off the plane, and just the excitement is palpable. And that was really cool to see.
All right, I personally am a RJ and Ron Hunter fan, but Andy, who is your favorite March Madness legend?
You got Ali Farokhmanesh here. My March Madness legend.
I know who it's not. Can it be a negative legend? Because I know who Andy still sees.
Yeah,
as
right.
nightmare.
It's I've
Ty Rogers.
Ty Rogers from Western Kentucky. God. Jeez, man.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, that was the worst experience of my entire sports fan life. I don't even want to think about it. It was so awful. The March Madness legend. God, I'm choking. Iowa State doesn't really. I guess I probably have to go back to Marcus Fizer, I guess, and watching them get to the Elite Eight that year, and he was so good. As far as like a giant shot, though, there isn't a better one than the guy on the screen, Ali Farokhmanesh.
It's just so cool because of the way he pulled up and shot that with plenty of time on the clock. I mean, that's an example of you and I was out there playing to win.
Yeah.
House
money, playing Kansas.
Oh my gosh, it was fun. But for me, it is that full court Duke pass from Hill to Christian Laettner and the turnaround shot against Kentucky. I mean, that was incredible.
Yeah. Christian Laettner he's the ultimate March Madness superstar.
Oh, he was just incredible. And he was here recently over at the Iowa Wolves game and was very personable, interacting with fans. So you forget how old he is now. He had beard and dad bod and all of that. He didn't look like Christian Laettner from those Duke teams, but yeah, that was just an incredible game.
Absolutely. You guys gave me free reign here, so of course I'm going to ring Taylor Swift into all these things.
You
She
are?
was named
Why?
top artist.
Are you like
Hear me out.
you a Uber
You a Swiftie?
Yeah, I mean, if you look over,
She was named what? I didn't hear that.
That's a Taylor Swift poster right there.
Oh,
Really? All right,
Yeah.
we'll get you some help.
Okay.
Hey, man,
Taylor Swift was named.
my 13-year-old
top-
daughter. Yeah, you got them's fighting words there, Keith. You like?
I
Taylor
understand.
Swift.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Taylor Swift was named the top artist of the 21st century by Billboard. If you guys had a vote, who would you select as the top artist of the century?
Billboard. Jeez.
Date ourselves here. There's recency bias, but it would be hard. You'd be hard pressed to come up with somebody that's been more impactful.
I don't think you can come up with somebody more impactful, even though I can't name more than, I know Shake It Off. Do I know another song? I don't think so. How many do you know?
I play them on guitar with my daughter a lot.
Well, that's sweet.
I do. We sit and we play them, and she sings them, and it is really sweet. And there are a lot of real simple songs that have 3 or 4 chords, and they're nice. I don't know. I don't know that I've got anybody better for you there, Aiden. We'll give it to you.
Yeah.
Would it help
For
if we went
impact,
20th century?
Make you feel good.
Gosh, I love Bruno Mars, but he hasn't had that much of an impact.
no way.
Eminem certainly has had a huge impact, but
A lot of that was 90s.
I know a lot of that was 90s. Geez, that's more than 25 years ago. Just have this moment, Aiden. After putting the show together, you deserve it.
The Taylor Swift heart.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need help with that stuff. It is time now for the Andrew Downs audio drop of the day. Aiden and in for AD. We call this the AD squared.
Presented by Game Day Men's Health. We're going to stick with some you and I love here, talking Ali from Oakmanish. Going to swing over to wrestling, though. This week is NCAA Championships, and Doug Schwab was not a fan of calling you and I the little train that could.
One of the flow guys called it could, and I'm like, yeah. Said the little engine's got some big old nuts. To be frank.
Frank.
Because you take some offense to some of that stuff, because, it's you and I, it's this, it's that. Like, it doesn't make sense. Yeah, hell, sure in hell it does. It makes a whole lot of sense. And as long as it makes sense to us, that's the only thing that matters.
Jeez, he's intense.
Not messing with that dude.
Man, what's the quote there, Aiden? Is it the train has big old nuts or the little engine has big old nuts?
I don't remember what you said, but either way, yeah.
Yeah, geez, that's going to be a T-shirt if it's not already. Not everybody can wear that, but some people can. The train's got big old nuts. Andy, can you hang truck nuts from a train? Can you have train nuts?
There you go.
It would be from the caboose then, right? The caboose nuts.
Yeah, caboose nuts.
Yeah, there should be caboose nuts.
There should be.
Sure, yeah.
Train nuts is catchier. At
dragging along the tracks there.
That is presented by Game Day Men's Health. Time now for the Quickie Poll results presented by WCI Pools and Spas in Ames and Urbandale. And our question today was about who was most joyous with the news that Darian DeVries is going to Indiana.
Which fans most enjoyed Darian DeVries going to Indiana? Hoosier fans, Cyclone fans, or Fran fans? This is a runaway winner. Cyclone fans, 69% of the vote. 20% say Hoosier fans, and only 11% say it's Fran fans. A number of them were happy to see this, but for the most part, they're Hawkeye fans, true and true. They didn't want to see that.
All right. That's going to do it for today's show. Aiden, thanks again. Thank you all for watching, listening, for being part of Murph and Andy here live on Iowa Everywhere, or maybe you're watching this after we were no longer live. We appreciate that too. Please like and subscribe. It helps us and makes it easy for you. We're back Friday, but not until 2:30 p.m. at the conclusion of the Iowa State Lipscomb game, which again, you can watch that at the Palms on the big screen, $10 to get in, but you get that money back in credit for food and drinks. That's a fun time. We've done that. It's like the difference between watching a Netflix comedy in your home or being around a bunch of people at the Funny Bone. It's just a different experience. So if you want to do that, you can do that on Friday. So we're back Friday, and we hope you are too.